Alright, so, I was going to play my guitar, but we're going to read Evelyn Underhill. I just decided, the sun just set, I got here after it set, so that's our view for tonight. I hope you're doing well. Evelyn Underhill is, she's the book is called Mysticism, studying the nature and development of spiritual consciousness. All right, I was just checking if I ought to be doing this. I ought to check before I start videoing, but whatever. You can always use these pauses to just be really present in your own life. I'm not saying that you have to, but I recommend it because sometimes I pause. Sometimes I'm teaching. I've been a psychologist the last 20 years, so I'll go through the spiel of this is like, I do have a playlist, so you can start with that. Or you can start here. Just trust that you came to this one for a reason. Right now we're on the second half of the book, which is great. It's on the mystic way. The last few videos have just been so amazing. All of them, because we're reading about mysticism, and just the way I am is to just let go and see what happens. And so let me double check and make sure that I put my microphone back in here. She influenced C.S. Lewis, and I'm sure Tolkien in his own way. Yeah, here's the mic. That way I can move this to the front of the car so you can see the ocean. The ocean's just so beautiful. It's really windy tonight. And so it's all choppy. It's so cold outside for California. So we're looking at the Pacific Ocean. All right. I'll be starting here in a second. It's just better if I have a mic if I'm going to be moving my... One time I had a mic, it didn't work, and so I was moving this thing all over, and I had to edit all of it. Volume. Okay. All right. So again, I hope that you're seeing not just the dash of my car. There. Okay. If you guys know, if you've been here before, then you know. Okay, so I see a strap is in the view. I'm using a compact to check. Okay. There. Sorry, I touched the mic here. Let's start. You can read about this in the description. There's a PDF if you want to read it along with or on your own, whatever. Okay. She's talking about the purification of the self. Oh, and detachment. We're just about to get into detachment. And St. John of the Cross is called the father of detachment. Wow, okay, this is a long section here. Okay. Apart from the plane, so detachment. Apart from the plane necessity of casting out imperfection and sin. Okay, apart from the plain necessity of casting out imperfection and sin, what is the type of good character which will best serve the self
in its journey toward union with the Absolute. The mystics of all ages and all faiths agree in their answer. Those three virtues which the instinct of the Catholic Church fixed upon as the necessities of the cloistered life, the great evangelical counsel of voluntary poverty with its departments, chastity, the poverty of the senses, and obedience, the poverty of the will. If my camera is shaking, it's because my whole car is shaking from the wind. Okay, so go back to that. The Council of Evangelical the Evangelical Council of Voluntary Poverty, which is with its departments, chastity, the poverty of the senses, and obedience, the poverty of the will. Oh wow, okay. Are also, when raised to their highest term and transmuted by the fire of love, the essential virtues of the mystical quest. Wow, I was thinking about that on my drive here. That's so weird. I had to stop being surprised by this. God knew I was going to be reading this. I didn't. So just understand for a second. Chastity is the poverty of the senses. It's not just, sexual chastity. It's, not just giving away to every sensation and thought and even feelings and stuff that come up. Not just being taken by all of them everywhere. And obedience, the poverty of the will. Okay, anyway. And also, when raised to their highest term, transmuted by the fire of love, the essential virtues of the mystical quest. By poverty, the mystic means an utter self-stripping, the casting off of immaterial as well as material wealth. A complete detachment from all finite things. By chastity, I'm glad she's going to explain it. He means an extreme and limpid purity of soul, virgin to all but God. By obedience, that abnegation of selfhood, that mortification of the will, which results in a complete humility, a holy indifference to the accidents of life. These three aspects of perfection are really one, linked together as irrevocably as the three aspects of the self. Their common characteristic is this: they tend to make the subject regard itself not as an isolated and interesting individual, possessing desires and rights, but as a scrap of the cosmos, an ordinary bit of the universal life, only important as a part of the all, an expression of the will divine. That's capital W-N-D, will divine. Detachment and purity go hand in hand, for purity is but detachment of the heart, and where these are present, they bring with them that humble spirit of obedience, which expresses detachment of will. We may therefore treat them as three manifestations of one thing, which thing is inward poverty. Blessed, here's the quote, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven," is the motto of all pilgrims on this road. Wow. So that's a quote from Jesus. I always wondered what that meant, blessed are the poor in spirit. Because you're not poor in the Holy Spirit, you're poor in, maybe in this indomitable sense of self, of I, personality self. You're poor in that. You're not. There's a psalm, St. John of the Cross talks about this psalm. I mentioned it in last video, I think, that David said, and David's like the king that has all these riches, and he says, I am poor, and it's like being poor for God's sake. Not being poor for God's sake. It's saying I am poor. I everything that I have counts for nothing compared to you. I've really been reflecting since the last video we made on that quote, you know, you kept comparing yourself to other candles and then you saw the sun. And it's been so amazing for me to just contemplate and stay in that, because it's just like the same as I am poor from King David. It's just like all my riches amount to nothing in comparison, you know. I think my phone is moving. Yeah, you're just getting the sky. I don't want you to just, let's see. I don't want you to just get the front of my car or just get the sky. All right. There. Just look above the front of my car. Okay. I'll turn it back to me in a little bit when it gets really dark, I think. I had to get a flashlight because it's just dark in my car, one of the lights. Anyway, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is the motto of all pilgrims on this road. God is pure, good in himself, says Meister Eckhart. She always says Eckhart, but Eckhart totally got his name from Meister Eckhart, so she's always talking about the German mystic Meister Eckhart. He's so beautiful. So God is pure good in himself, says Eckhart. Therefore will he dwell nowhere but in a pure soul. There he can pour himself out. Into that he can wholly flow. Wholly, W-H-O-L-L-Y. What is purity? It is that a man should have turned himself away from all creatures and have set his heart so entirely on the pure good that no creature is to him a comfort, that he has no desire for aught creaturely, save so far as he may apprehend therein the pure good which is God. In the ascent of Mount Carmel, you can read, maybe she'll quote it, so I won't go too far into it, St. John of the Cross. He talks about anyone that goes to creature comforts, you get tormented by those when you're addicted to those, when you put them above God, which probably most people do. They can become a type of idol, and then you're tormented by your desires for food or any kind of addiction or people of some kind. And he described it like Delilah. If you know the story of Samson and Delilah, like she said she was going to die if she didn't know where he got his power from, because she was going to get a bunch of gold for betraying him. And so she just had her desires set upon knowing that and getting the gold, I'm sure. And so just watch your own thoughts and your desires, how they start trying to control you, and you can just step back and go, wait, who am I? Am I my thoughts? Am I my desires? And so it said, Samson, relationships are often mirrors, and so he was in that same type of place with her, just in a kind of lust relationship, if you will, passion or whatever. And so he finally gets tired of her saying it and tells her, even though she betrayed him every time. So there were the red flags, and then the Philistines came and plucked out his eyes, and his strength went away. And they put him on this mill grinder just in a circle to grind this wheat for them, and they mocked him. And so St. John of the Cross had no bones to bear about it. Like it was so intense. He's just saying, like, this is what happens when you run after creatures or creature comforts, even other people, and set them to be, you think they're going to be the love or divine. They're not divine love. All love just flows through people, right? We're all made out of divine love, out of God. God breathed into us. We were made out of the earth, and he breathed life into us. So we have a soul, let's say, but anyway, he says when you get usurped by your addictions, and I was going to make a whole video out of this, so but I'm not going to cut into this for another video. I like keeping these whole by themselves. But just a side note for us, he's like, then your strength leaves you, your eyes get plucked out because you don't see spiritually anymore. You gave yourself over to the passions, and your passions blind you to the divine. They come in between the light that you once were seeking with, blessed are the pure in heart and the poor in spirit. But anyway, and people mock you, and you're working for them. You end up being a slave to your sins, to your addictions, to whatever you're putting above God. C.S. Lewis talks a lot about you have to put first things first, and then only can you get second and third things. When you put second things first, you don't get the second things or the first things. Anyway, hopefully she'll illuminate more on this. I hope you appreciated that side note. Anyway, sorry, I'm just feeling sad reading this. Oops, sorry, I had to breathe into that. Here, I'll just stop saying sorry as well. You show up as you are, and whatever you're called to do, show up. And, don't limit yourself to that state of being. This just makes me sad about, I'm really happy right now that all of us are finding a way out, but there's so many people that get lost in this, and I understand times in my own life I've been lost in this. What is purity? I'm going back to the book. It is that a man should have turned himself away from all creatures and have set his heart so entirely on the pure good, which she said earlier, Meister Eckhart said, God is pure good in himself. Okay, so have turned himself away from all creatures and have set his heart so entirely on the pure good that no creature is to him a comfort, that he has no desire for aught creaturely, save so far as he may apprehend therein the pure good which is God. And as little as the bright eye can endure aught foreign in it, so little can the pure soul bear anything in it, any stain on it, that comes between it and God. To it all creatures are pure to enjoy, for it enjoyeth all creatures in God, and God in all creatures. Oh, that's a continuation of Meister Eckhart's quote, it looks like, because there's the end quote. Okay, here's a quote again, a new one. To it, all creatures are pure to enjoy. End quote. This is hardly the popular concept of the mystic, which credits him in the teeth of such examples of St. Francis, St. Michild of Magdeburg, Rolle, Suso, and countless others, with a hearty dread of natural things. Too many mistaken ascetics of the type of the Cure d'Ars, who would not smell a rose for fear of sin, have supported in this respect the vulgar belief, for it is generally forgotten that though most mystics have practiced asceticism as a means to an end, all ascetics are not mystics. Whatever may be the case with other deniers of the senses, it is true that the pure soul of the mystic, dwelling on high levels of reality, his or her eyes set on the transcendental world, is capable of combining with the perfection of detachment that intense and innocent joy of natural things, as veils and vessels of the divine, which results from seeing all creatures in God and God in all creatures, like Meister Eckhart was describing. All are representation of God. The love of God flows through them. C.S. Lewis talks a lot about Sehnsucht. I'm not saying it right in German. And it's saudade in Portuguese. It's like this intense longing, like a sad longing, but or nostalgia type of feeling. And it's like, but he says, when you go back to those things, you find that it wasn't in the song, it wasn't in the memory, it only, or the book, or whatever, the person, it came through that, but something did come through that, and that's like this wave of the love of God. It's like if we're all windows and God shines through us, and the cleaner that window is, the more you just feel this fullness of the essence of God. Anyway, here's another quote. Quote, "Whoso knows and loves the nobleness of my freedom," said the voice of God to Mathilde of Magdeburg, "cannot bear to love me alone. He must also love me in the creatures. Such a power is characteristic of the illumination which results from a faithful endurance of the purgative way. For the corollary of 'blessed are the pure in heart' is not a merely poetic statement. The blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God is the rest of that. But it's not a merely poetic statement. The annals of mysticism prove it to be a psychological law." That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So law is like gravity, or like, do not be mocked. As a man sows, so shall he reap, And so if you sow seeds of a pure heart, you will get to see God. You will. Don't doubt that. You can if you want, but I encourage you to have faith. How then is this contradiction to be resolved, that the mystic who has declared the fundamental necessity of leaving all creatures, yet finds them pure to enjoy? The answer to the riddle lies in the ancient paradox of poverty, that we only enjoy true liberty in respect of such things as we neither possess nor desire. That thou mayest have pleasure in everything, seek pleasure in nothing. That thou mayest know everything, and seek to know nothing. That thou mayest have pleasure in everything, seek pleasure in nothing. That thou mayest know everything, seek to know nothing. That thou mayest possess all things, seek to possess nothing. In detachment, the spirit finds quiet and repose, for coveting nothing, nothing wearies it by elation, and nothing oppresses it by dejection, because it stands in the center of its own humility. For as soon as it covets anything, it is immediately fatigued thereby. Tell me about it. Let me see if I brought my... I did. I wrote this in my journal today because it was... Now, I don't know if you're going to believe me, but here it is. Here it is, right? You don't have to believe me, but I think it's important, and I'm not trying to speak about myself. I'm just saying... Oh, good. This light works now. I'm saying... this morning, and we do morning prayers. When you're Anglican, you do morning prayers. But I don't often define my religious beliefs, because I just want everyone to Bruce Reed, God will not break. He wants everyone to know these truths, right? But they read in morning prayer today. It's Ash Wednesday, so I have the ashes. That's when I'm recording this. I'm going to release it later, but they read, I think it was in the Ash Wednesday service or this morning's prayers. I don't remember. But it said, it says, store up for yourself. Jesus was talking, right? And it says, store up for yourself treasures, store not up for yourself treasures here on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and thieves can break in. Store up for yourselves instead treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And so, here's my planner for this year, and I wrote at the top. I don't know if you can see this. I am not yours, I am not even mine. I am God's every day, every minute and second. You must, and I put it in quotes because no one has to do anything. It's a choice, but you must choose to give me to God 100%, completely, like every day. You know, just thinking in relationships, for relationships to work. And I must give whoever that person is, if I'm in relationship with them, whether it's my kids or anyone, 100% to God every moment. No person is to be possessed. And then I wrote this store not up for yourself treasures here on earth. That's what was coming to me today. So strange. I mean, I guess I just said I ought to not call it strange. But I thought it was so important that I wrote it at the front of my book. Here, I'll take this off so that you can see my face. So that I write everything that's important at the front, so that at the end of the year I'll see all of my important quotes, at the front or the back. Anyway. Sometimes I heard from a teacher that sometimes when you first get into this detachment place, that everything just seems really dull for you. It seems like you're going into a depression, but it's just, sometimes it just lasts for a day or it lasts a couple of days. You're getting used to this, not being attached to anything and just holding your hand like this. Anyway, just a little pro tip, because I've gone to a lot of different teachers to get insight about this, to understand this way. And I was just reading this book and I decided to read it out loud for all of us because I didn't want it just to be for myself. And I'm glad. Anyway. How then is this contradiction to be resolved? That the mystic who has declared the fundamental necessity of, quote, leaving all creatures, yet finds them pure to enjoy. There are lots of paradoxes in spiritual truths. It's both and, The answer to the riddle lies in the ancient paradox of poverty, that we only enjoy true liberty in respect of such things as we neither possess nor desire. That thou mayest have pleasure in everything. I know I'm repeating this, is good. And seek pleasure in nothing. That thou mayest know everything, but seek to know nothing. That thou mayest possess all things, seek to possess nothing. In detachment, the spirit finds quiet and repose. For coveting nothing, nothing wearies it by elation, and nothing oppresses it by dejection, because it stands in the center of its own humility. For as soon as it covets anything, it is immediately fatigued thereby. Our bishop said, and I've done videos on this on my YouTube channel, it's like, to the extent that you're addicted to anything, to your desires, to the extent, that your attention is on, or you're addicted to any desires, is to the extent that you'll step over other people to acquire those, He said it something like that. It's the same. Anyway. But thanks be to God. God, when you yield yourself to God, and God calls every person, God will help you order your disordered desires. That's part of what God does. It says, I'm the good husbandman, the good gardener. He cuts off the branches that are not bearing fruit, and he prunes the ones that are, so that you bear more fruit. Okay, that light went out. Anyway. Oh, there. Oh, okay. It is not love, but lust, the possessive case. And lust isn't just sexual. She's talking about that when you're trying to possess something, it's lust used to just be, and there's nothing wrong with your passions, it's directing them. It's like you have to use your passions, those strong passions, in order to have the fire for detachment, actually. So, but it's just, anyway, It is not love but lust, the possessive case, the very food of selfhood, which poisons the relation between the self and the external world, and immediately fatigues the soul. Divide the world into mine and not mine, and unreal standards are set up, claims and cravings begin to fret the mind, like I was talking about with Delilah, right? We are the slaves of our own property. We drag with us not a treasure, but a chain. Behold, says the Theological Germanica, quote, on this sort must we cast all things from us and strip ourselves of them. We must refrain from claiming anything for our own. When we do this, we shall have the best, fullest, clearest, and noblest knowledge that a man can have. And also, the noblest and purest love and desire. Well, that's good because it feels like you're entering depression, but it's different than depression. I know, because I've been depressed and this is not it. Just if you want a little side tip, I'm a psychologist for the last 20 plus years. All right, quote, he will not behold the light. Okay, so you're not going to behold the light, right? He or she will not behold the light who attempts to ascend to the vision of the Supreme, whilst he is drawn downwards by those things that are an obstacle to the vision, says Plantius. And St. John of the Cross says this all the time in the Living Flame of Love. It's very, very beautiful. It only takes 2 hours to read that or so. I have it on this voice stream reader, so you can get it for free online. And then I have this reader that reads the voice. Brian's voice is his British voice that reads everything really well. And Brian read it to me. It's free PDFs online. I think it's in the Catholic Christian Ethereal Libraries. It's like CCEL. I have a link to it in my video called Voice Stream. It was one of my first videos. My uncle taught me about this app, and I'm not selling it or anything. I'm just saying you buy the app one time. It used to be like $10, and then you buy one voice that you like, and then it reads all the PDFs you want. All these ancient books, even this one, you can listen to it without me interrupting. But you guys know that. I wish you so much love. Thanks for being here. I honor your presence. I'll do my best to speak less unless I really think it can illuminate what we're talking about. Okay, so Plantius is saying, you will not behold the light who attempts to ascend to the vision of the Supreme whilst he is drawn downwards by the things that are an obstacle to this vision, says Plantius, for he does not ascend alone, but brings with him that which separates him from the one, capital O-N-E. In a word, he is not made one. And so it's like C.S. Lewis was saying, if you have anything else that you're holding on to, the way St. John of the Cross talks about it, he says it's like a little bird, and you've let go of all these fetters, all of these addictions, you've poverty to all of these things, you're detached, but there's one string left, and you're not willing to pull with one strong swoop, to get yourself loose from that cord, then you can't ascend up to God, to the oneness, to the divine love from which we came. That really helps me to keep letting go of everything. When I think of the little bird, I'm like, no, I want to fly. No, I don't want to compare myself to other candles or grab onto other candles when I can have the sun, the sun, which God is just represented by the sun, Accept poverty, however, demolish ownership, the verb to have, in every mood and tense. Because it hides itself. You don't realize you're trying to have something. Anyway, and this downward drag is at an end. See, it'll come to an end. You just let go of to have in every mood and tense. Just that. You don't even need this video. You don't. Remember what Plato said, that everything you learn is just a remembering. You're just remembering. We all came from the oneness of God. This is why the most ignorant type of person, someone who hasn't had schooling and education, I learned so much from people that haven't had schooling, that are just yielded to the Holy Spirit, because the stuff pours through them. One time, I'll tell you guys, I paid like $6,000, I'll just let you know, to go to this Tony Robbins event. And he is really good and knowledgeable. He writes down everything to learn all this stuff. I'm not promoting him at all. I'm just saying, like, he's so intense about wanting to equip people. And I shared that with him. Maybe it's from our childhood, you know, wanting to be useful. And part of that's a neurotic that God's cleaning out of me. I don't know for him. I wish him love. He did this 2-hour intervention on me in front of 500 people. That was really astounding. Like, it really helped free something from my life. So anyway, but I came back from that, and there's this woman, Latoya Okia, on YouTube, and I don't know what her education is. I don't think it's college. Maybe. This is nothing against her, because I don't know if Tony even went to college. Like, it doesn't matter, but I'm saying she's so yielded that it's like, he had all of these amazing, intense things to teach us, and all these experts that came from Greg Braden. We talked to Greg Braden. We talked to all these people from all over the world. And I caught up with Latoya's videos when I came back, and she was teaching. It's like the Holy Spirit downloaded the same exact week that I just had in this intensive, all-day, week-long thing in her, you know, like 5 videos. It really was. The essence was almost exactly the same. And hers were free on YouTube. But it's like people think that they're getting more value when they go with a bunch of millionaires. And I'm not putting anyone down for having money at all. And, you know, and we're this elite group learning all this stuff. And you know, the discipline that it takes to actually leave everything and learn the things that we were taught, there was a lot in that. So I'm not putting down the experience in any way. I'm just saying you can get caught up in that too, and want to possess is like this constant, never-ending, I have to be self-improving all the time, and then you're addicted to that, you know, and you actually lose your mandate, you lose your direction towards divine love, towards God. And I'm not speaking on anybody on that path, because I don't know what, you know, anyway. It says, accept poverty, however, demolish ownership, the verb to have, in every mood and tense, and this downward drag is not an end. At once the cosmos belongs to you, and you to it. You escape the heresy of separateness, are made one, and merged in the greater life of the all. Then, a free spirit in a free world, the self moves upon its true orbit, undistracted by the largely self-imposed responsibilities of ordinary earthly existence. You know, that's why I felt like today was the first time that when I heard Jesus, because I've heard that so many times, when he was saying, it just hit me on another level. You know, store not up for yourself treasures on this earth. Don't be holding them so tightly. You know, where a little moth can come in, or a rust can destroy these things that are so valuable to you, or a thief can break in and steal, you know, and then you're distraught and tired and all this stuff, you know. I was wearing my favorite hat today. Oh, you guys just saw it. And I was like, what if, because I'm going to travel in a little bit, what if I go there and I forget my hat? Because I was wearing it on my walk today. That's what was coming to my mind. And it's like, what if I do? It's going to be okay, even though I've had this hat for years, you know, and it's wool and it's lined, so it keeps me warm, and all these things have happened in that hat. I don't need the hat. It's okay. You know what I mean? But it's like, if a hat's going to keep you from God, let it go. It's okay. Like, God can supply some other source of warmth, you know, but we get so attached to these things, even though great things you appreciated. You know, I fell the other day and I got 3 stitches in my head, 3 staples, and have a concussion still. For a few months I'll have one. But it's like, I had that hat on. I could have been hurt a lot worse if I didn't have that hat on. And so, but I was appreciating then. I'm appreciating what God did through the hat, you know. It wasn't the hat that did it. Maybe it was because we all have guardian angels, and we have, oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Plato says that all things that you learn are just remembering. Well, if you've accepted, you know, the Holy Spirit of God in you, you know, that would be a long conversation. I'm not going into that right now. But if you have, Jesus said, the Holy Spirit will remind you of all things that I have taught you. And so that's why I was saying you don't even need this video. But this video, it's showing up because maybe it's another expression of you wanting to speak back to yourself and say, hey, these things are important. These things, remember these things. You can watch my 1-minute video, Green Side Up. It's like this guy's yelling outside, green side up, and he's talking to these people, and they finally are like, why do you keep yelling green side up? He's like, oh, Ed's out there laying sod down, and I gotta keep reminding him to put the green side up. That's how easily we forget about some of these things. And so I was thinking today also, like all disciplines, all self-abandonment in that way. Someone said the other day in a video, they said, self-discipline, when you're not being self-disciplined, you're abandoning yourself. She had said that part. And then I was reflecting on that. I was like, and you abandon yourself to God. You abandon yourself to God when you are being self-disciplined for God. You know what I mean? Not to feel more righteous in yourself, but anyway, I hope that made sense. This is the truth which St. Francis of Assisi grasped and applied with the energy of a reformer and the delicate originality of a poet to every circumstance of the inner and outer life. This noble liberty it is which is extolled by his spiritual descendant, Jacopin de Todi, in one of his most magnificent odes. Great. It's in a different language. I was so excited to read it, right? Povertà alto sapere, e nulla cosa soggiacere, en desprezo possedere tutte le cose create. It looks like the word create. Oh no, it goes on. Let's see. I think she's naming some of it at the bottom. O poverty, high wisdom, to be subject to nothing, and by despising all, to possess all created things. God will not lodge in a narrow heart, and it is as great as thy love. God will not lodge in a narrow heart, and it is great as thy love. Poverty has so ample a bosom that deity itself may lodge therein. Poverty is not to have and nothing to desire. Not to have and nothing to desire, but all things to possess is the spirit of liberty. Okay, good. She did translate it. I'm going to show it to you in case you do speak. St. Francis of Assisi is French. It looked like Spanish to me, though, but I studied Spanish. It's just not getting clear. I think it's the lack of light. Hold on. Anyway, I hope you can see that. It looks blurry to me, but okay. Dio non alberga in cor strecto quanti facto. Anyway. O poverty, high wisdom. I'm going to read the ode once more again, just straight through. O poverty, high wisdom, to be subject to nothing, and by despising all, to possess all created things. God will not lodge in a narrow heart, and it is as great as thy love. Poverty has so ample a bosom that deity itself may lodge therein. Poverty is not to have and nothing to desire, but all things to possess in the spirit of liberty. Okay, so that you're possessing all things within the spirit of liberty. Oh, here. My little sisters, the birds, says St. Francis, greatest adept of that high wisdom, brother sun, sister water, mother earth. You were just looking at sister water. End quote. Not my servants, but my kindred and fellow citizens, who may safely be loved so long as they are not desired. So, in almost identical terms, the dying Hindu ascetic. Okay, good. This Hindu says, while he's dying, right? I'm thinking it's a he. Fioretti. O Mother Earth, Father Sky, Brother Wind, friend, light, sweetheart, water. Here take my last salutation with folded hands, for today I am melting away into the supreme, because my heart became pure, and all delusion vanished through the power of your good company. It is the business of Lady Poverty to confer on her lovers this freedom of the universe, to eradicate delusion, purify the heart, and initiate them into the great life of the all. Well might St. Francis desire marriage with that enchantress who gives back tenfold all that she takes away. Holy poverty, he said, is a treasure so high excelling and so divine that we be not worthy to lay it up in our vile vessels. Since this is that celestial virtue whereby all earthly things and fleeting are trodden underfoot, and whereby all hindrances are lifted from the soul, so that freely she may join herself to God eternal. It's just like in a couple videos ago when I wrote that heart with an arrow through it that day. It says, I was just writing down like poetry from my own heart. It was just like, all you had to give to God was all, and then you got all from God. That's all you had to give was all. It's just like the same thing about when you choose this kind of poverty. You get everything. Jesus gave his whole self, his whole life, and the death, and his whole life living a pure heart, and then died, letting people crucify him. And then we get the resurrection through him. We get brought back to paradise, to Eden, through that, through Christ, through what he did. He gave us all. It says, while we were yet sinners, before we earned it, God didn't look down and go, hey, you did a great job, so I'm going to give you my whole life. He's like, no, for God so loved the world. He just loved first. But it's just words until you know this love. So if you don't know it, ask God to help you know this love. Poverty is the matchmaker between God and the spirit of man. Never will the union to which that spirit tends take place without her good offices, her drastic separation of the unreal from the real. She strips off the clothing which man so often mistakes for himself, transvaluates all his values, and shows him things as they are. Thus, in that beautiful chapter of the Sacrum Commercium, which describes how the friars, climbing the steeps of the hill, find Lady Poverty at the summit, enthroned only in her nakedness, we are told that she, preventing them with the blessings of sweetness, said, "Why hasten ye so from the vale of tears to the mount of light? If peradventure it is me that ye seek, lo, I am but as you. Behold, a little poor one, stricken with storms, and far from any consolation." Whereto the brothers answer, quote, "Only admit us to thy peace, and we shall be saved." It's from Francisci cum Domine. I don't know. You'll have to look that up. Sorry, it's just speaking so deeply to me because I was on a 2-hour walk this morning and I was just like seeing just nakedness and then I was just like, just take off the nakedness and there's just form, and then let it be formless, and then you're just one with everything. You're one with everything underneath that. There's not even nakedness. There's just, only admit us to thy peace, and we shall be saved. The same truth, the saving peace of utter detachment. It was almost 2-hour walk. It was 1 hour and 45 minutes, I think. I always want to speak the truth. I don't want to exaggerate. The same truth, the saving peace of utter detachment from everything but divine reality, a detachment which makes those... It's just coming to my heart. Like, don't share this with people. I'm, just... I don't want to say any of these things to brag about anything. I'm not. I'm just wanting you to know how possible this is for you. And so, anyway, share it with other people on this path, or that you notice long to be, or if God puts someone on your heart to share this video with, share it to them. That's the Holy Spirit nudging you. It's kind of like the cloud of unknowing. He's just like, I don't want this to go to religious folks, people who will look at it with eyes like not of a poet, of an artist, Anyway, I trust God to protect me. Anyway, the same truth, the saving peace of utter detachment from everything but divine reality, a detachment which makes those who have it the citizen of the world, and enabled the friars to say to Lady Poverty, as they showed her from the hill of Assisi, the whole countryside at her feet, Hoc et claustrum nostrum domina, is taught by Meister Eckhart in a more homely parable. She doesn't say what that is. It really wants me to take, I want to take Latin, even though I took Greek, but domina. Someone, thank you, a guy named Mike today wrote in one of our other videos, As Above, So Below, he wrote the Latin translation of one of the things that I had read. So if you know it, I'm gonna show it here if it shows. It's right here. This sentence. So if you know Latin, take the time for us and write it in the comments. And if you came here later and someone wrote it, then you'll see it. That's how cool. Time is really cool like that. There was a learned man who 8 years long desired that God would show him a man who would teach him the truth. And once he felt a very great longing, a voice from God came to him and said, Go to the church, and there shalt you find a man who shall show thee the way to blessedness. And he went thence, and found a poor man, whose feet were torn and covered with dust and dirt, and all his clothes were hardly worth 3 farthings. And he greeted him, saying, God give you good day. He answered, I have never had a bad day. God give you good luck. I have never had ill luck. He says, May you be happy, but why do you answer me thus? I have never been unhappy. That's what this guy says, right? Maybe I'll keep it dark for now. Pray, explain this to me, for I cannot understand it. The poor man answered, Willingly, you wished me good day. I have never had a bad day. For if I am hungry, I praise God. If it freezes, hails, snows, rains, if the weather is fair or foul, still I praise God. Am I wretched and despised? I praise God. And so I have never had an evil day. You wished that God would send me luck, but I have never had ill luck, for I know how to live with God, and I know that what He does is best, and what God gives me or ordains for me, be it good or ill, I take it cheerfully from God, as the best that can be, and so I have never had ill luck. You wish that God would make me happy. I was never unhappy, for my only desire is to live in God's will, and I have so entirely yielded my will to God's, that what God wills, I will. It's like the last video I did, I was doing this thing where I was holding the 2 scales. St. Ignatius taught this as well. Neither rich nor poor, good health or poor health, long life or short life, honored or dishonored, well known or unknown, stay stable, And another way to understand that is one plants the seeds, another waters it, another causes it to grow. Just, you're living in God. I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if my channel ever grows, if no one ever knows me or whatever. It's like, I get to be planting seeds right now, and that's an honor. That's an honor. And I take it as an honor. And in that, other people can cause these seeds to water in your life and to grow. And you will plant seeds from your being here, just even one video. And others will water those. And it'll be like Johnny Appleseed, planted seeds all over. And the trees, if it's a true story, like grew everywhere. Even if it's not, the principle is true. But if God should will to cast you in hell, said the learned man, what would you do then? Cast me into hell? His goodness forbids. But if he did cast me into hell, I should have 2 arms to embrace him. One arm is true humility, that I should lay beneath him, and be thereby united to his holy humanity. And with the right arm of love, which is united with his holy divinity, I should so embrace him that he would have to go to hell with me. That's such a beautiful answer. And I would rather be in hell and have God than in heaven and not have God. Then the master understood that true abandonment with utter humility is the nearest way to God. The master asked further, whence are you come? From God. Where did you find God? When I forsook all creatures. Where have you left God? In pure hearts and in men of good will. The master asked, what sort of man are you? I am a king. Where is your kingdom? My soul is my kingdom, for I can so rule my senses inward and outward that all the desires and powers of my soul are in subjection, and this kingdom is greater than a kingdom on earth. That's why we pray, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth. We were made out of earth, as it is in heaven. And that's why I met my friend Elliott Smith. He had 5 songs in the movie Good Will Hunting. You're looking for goodwill, you're hunting. But if you keep looking out there, then you'll keep getting mirrored back. It's out there. And he's showing this kingdom is here, but you don't see it when you have disordered desires. You can't see it. Your senses, all the things that you long for, are blocking your vision of God. What brought you to this perfection? My silence, my high thoughts, and my union with God, for I could not rest in anything that was less than God. Now I have found God, and in God have eternal rest and peace. Poverty, then, consists in a breaking down of man's inveterate habit of trying to rest in or take seriously things which are less than God, i.e., which do not possess the character of reality. Such a habit is the most fertile of all causes of world weariness and delusion, faults, or rather spiritual diseases, dis-ease, which the mystics never exhibit, but which few who are without all mystic feeling can hope to escape. This is from Roysbrook. Free will is the king of the soul. He inhabits the highest city of that kingdom. I think that's where it's from. And Meister Eckhart was quoted in Martinson's monograph. I don't know what that is, but anyway. I just sometimes read a little bit of the footnotes. Hence, the sharpened perceptions of the contemplatives have always seen poverty as a counsel of prudence. Dear prudence. A higher form. Oh, there's all the lights just went out. I think that might be our cue. Poverty as a counsel of prudence, a higher form of common sense. Wow, prudence as a higher form of common sense. This is so great. it says, okay, hence, the sharpened perceptions of the contemplatives have always seen poverty as a counsel of prudence, a higher form of common sense. It is not with St. Francis or any other great mystic a first principle, an end in itself. It's not that you're seeking after poverty. Again, you're seeking God, and poverty comes along the way if you choose to accept it. It was a rather... I'm going back to the book. It was a rather logical deduction from the first principle of their science, the paramount importance to the soul of a clear view of reality. Here, East and West are in agreement. And I'm going to end with this paragraph, I think. Their science, quote, says Al-Ghazi of the Sufis, I love Rumi, anyway, who practiced, like the early Franciscans, a complete renunciation of worldly goods, quote, has for its object the uprooting from the soul all of violent passions, the extirpation from it of vicious desires and evil qualities, so that the heart may become detached from all that is not God, and give itself for its only occupation, mediation upon the divine being. And give itself for its only occupation, meditation upon the divine being. So, okay, a complete renunciation of worldly goods has for its object the uprooting from the soul all violent passions, the extirpation from it of vicious desires and evil qualities, so that the heart may become detached from all that is not God, and give itself for its only occupation, meditation upon the divine being. I went to Turkey to Rumi's grave, and all these people were crying and doing all these things, and I was just in quiet. I was with a group, and they were all speaking German, so I had to detach a long time before that and just keep trusting God. Like this other guy, I just had to trust God on the road. So I was in a high state of contemplation, but I was thinking, I wonder what it would be like, to know Rumi, because Rumi has helped me out in so many dark times, and I didn't know why. And I won't tell you all that he said, but in my heart, I got this message, It was talking about serving people, serving specific person, but other people. And I said, no, blah, blah, blah. I won't go into the whole thing. It's really personal. But he says, all of us to each other are brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, teachers, students, masters, slaves. He didn't say the masters and slaves part. It's not like masters and slaves. So he didn't say that part. But it was just like Brother Earth, brother, Sister Water, all of us are that, we're married first to God, and you can have a spouse here, but it's just like mothers and fathers. That's what he said too. It's like, if you're in a place to be a student of someone, then you're the student. If they come back to you a different time and you're in the place to be the teacher, you're the teacher. And so anyway, I wish you so much love. I hope I didn't say too much. Share this and take a moment to like this, because if you like it, then maybe someone who's hesitating, whose soul is calling them, will come to this because they see a bunch of likes. I don't know. That's why I say to do it, and share it and comment your favorite part or a quote or something, because the algorithm goes up for YouTube to push it out. Because I don't buy ads or anything to other people when there's comments underneath. All right. I wish you so much love. Don't do it if you don't dare. You know what I mean? Like, I had to dare to put this out here. It's not easy to put this out here. I had to bust through a lot of barriers to be able to make these videos. It doesn't come naturally to me. Anyway, I wish you love. Bye. See you next time.